Jessica's death, it became certain that the culprit was hiding somewhere nearby, and that they'd come for our lives if they had a chance. According to Genji-san, when tomorrow morning comes, the boat should arrive. The boat had a radio. We'd probably be able to contact the police directly with that. All of us gathered in the parlor and decided to wait quietly until tomorrow. I proposed that we should search throughout the mansion for clues about the culprit, but Aunt Rosa rejected that, saying that if we managed to corner the culprit, or maybe provoke them, it might lead to a third murder. That was probably the right thing to do. If a bunch of amateurs like us investigated, there's no way we'd find anything. It would be wisest to focus on protecting ourselves without doing anything unnecessary and leave it to the police starting tomorrow. We'd been tense at the beginning, but other than Aunt Rosa, most of us had spent all morning watching TV and getting bored, so our sense of danger had faded considerably. When we thought about it, yes, 6 adults certainly had been killed together in the first murder, but that made it seem like some backhanded method like poison had been used. And for the second murder, we figured those two became sacrifices because they'd been unfortunately isolated from the rest of us. From this, it was possible to imagine that the culprit wasn't a large number of adults, and that they wouldn't be capable of killing this large group gathered in the parlor all at once. Right now, in this parlor, there's George Aniki and me, Maria, Aunt Rosa, Genji-san, Goda-san, Shannon-san, Kumasawa-san, and then Dr. Nanjo, for a total of 9 people. Furthermore, Aunt Rosa was even armed with a gun. Surely with this many people staying in this room, they wouldn't be able to touch us easily. That feeling of security, along with the passage of time, allowed us to recover from the shock of that morning, bit by bit. By the way, lunchtime had just ended for us. However, it had been a canned food lunch, a far cry from the dinner last night that Goda-san had skillfully made for us. Aunt Rosa also suspected that poison may have been used in the first murder, so we probably couldn't deny the possibility that the culprit had snuck into the kitchen during all that confusion in the morning and mixed poison in with the ingredients there. Aunt Rosa gave orders to all of us saying that until the police came, we mustn't put anything into our mouths except safe things like canned food. As a cook, Goda-san must have felt very let down. Apparently eager to display his skill anyway, he said he at least wanted to grab some plates and arrange the canned food on them. At first, Aunt Rosa had been reluctant, examining each one of the plates that were brought, because she hadn't been able to find anything to complain about. And Goda's chef-picked canned food lunch combo was born. Goda-san said something about the taste being savored, not just with the tongue, but with the eyes as well. I see. It's the same canned food we ate for breakfast, but feels like something completely different. I mean, fair enough. As I was sitting lazily on the sofa with no desire to watch TV, Maria came over, pulled a picture book out of her bag, and held it out to me. Wolves and sheep puzzle. It was a phrase that Aunt Rosa had said this morning when we'd gone to call on Jessica. At the time, I hadn't known what it meant. Right after that was that uproar when Jessica's corpse was found, so I'd forgotten about it completely. That book that Maria held out to me looked like a foreign picture book, or something that had been translated. When I opened it, I realized that it was a book stuffed with riddles. It was a very simple puzzle, passed on from long ago. Let's try posing a question. On the right bank, there are 2 wolves and 2 sheep. There's a boat that as many as 2 animals can ride on, and using it, you have to move all 4 of them to the opposite left bank. That's the puzzle. There are 2 rules. The first is regarding the boat. Even a single wolf or a single sheep can paddle it, but it can only hold 2 animals. The second rule is regarding the wolves. When they are a greater number than the sheep in any location, they attack the sheep and it's game over. For example, at the start of the game, let's say the 2 sheep get in the boat and go to the other side. The one sheep gets off and the other goes back to the first bank. When it does, there are 2 wolves on the first bank and a single sheep returns there. When that happens, the number of wolves is greater, so the sheep is attacked and it's game over. On either bank, or even the boat, There must never be more wolves than sheep. And you've got to shuttle them all across under these conditions. By the way, the right answer is to move both wolves to the opposite bank in the first turn. Then one wolf comes back. On the second turn, you move 2 sheep to the opposite bank. Then one wolf comes back. And on the third turn, you put the last wolf that was on the right bank on the boat, cross to the opposite bank, and congratulations, transport successful. Partway, there may be the same number of wolves and sheep in the boat or on either side, but that isn't a problem. You only lose when the number of wolves is greater. This book uses wolves and sheep as an example, but lots of people probably know of this game using different characters. It looked like Maria wanted to test whether I too could solve the puzzles she knew how to solve. And she kept showing me different pages saying, solve this one, and this one's hard. So what was happening when Aunt Rosa first mentioned this puzzle? That's right. When we decided to go and get Jessica, we talked about how many men should go. And Aunt Rosa mentioned the wolves and sheep puzzle, saying we should all go together. That could only mean one thing. She thought there was, a wolf amongst the group. Aunt Rosa was saying that there was a wolf among us. So was she thinking that we'd be safe and the number of wolves and sheep was in balance? That the wolves would bare their fangs if the situation changed? At the time we found our parents' corpses, Aunt Rosa already suspected that the servants might be wolves. She'd sniffed out the possibility that, while she didn't know whether it was all of them or some of them, there were wolves hiding among them. That's no surprise. That murder scene was very elaborate. It's easy to imagine that there were multiple culprits. And because she'd reached that conclusion when we went to Jessica's room, and learned that Jessica had been killed after being alone with a servant, Kanon, it isn't hard to imagine why Aunt Rosa suspected the servant so persistently. No.
僕も一緒に行っていいかな。ごめんなさい。ジョージ君は残ってくれるかしら。
Keep it in your pants, George.
ちょっとお話ししたいことがあるの。そうですか。シャノン、ごめん。とにかく気をつけて、一人にならないでね。はい。南條先生、ちょっとご相談が。
はい、何ですかな。
The servants put the dishes away and empty cans in the servant cart and started to head out into the corridor. Behind them, Aunt Rosa was talking to Dr. Nanjo about something in a small voice.
わかりました。参りましょう。
Oh.
ええ。よろしくお願いしますね。
So it's a similar situation as in the final moments of the last episode, where everyone's suspecting the servants and just kicks them all out in a way. But unfortunately, that leaves them all vulnerable. Because what? We're 9 deep, right? No. No, we're not 9 deep. We're 8 deep. Right? There's only 8 dead, right? Yeah. And they need 13 total. Right. There's 8 dead. He said there was 9 in the group, and then Kinzo is the one extra that's not part of the group or confirmed dead. So that would make a total of 18. There we go. And then, of course, Beatrice as well. So there's 8 dead. She needs a total of 13. And they just kicked out. Now she's kicking out Nanjo, Genji, Kumasawa, Shannon, and Goda. That's 5. That's 5. What is wrong with these women? Like, obviously, like, that's the thing, like, at this point, Rosa doesn't even know about the fucking epitaph, hasn't made those connections yet. Like, Nazi, I can be a bit more judgmental of her actions, because, like, you know about the epitaph, you know they need X amount of sacrifices left. I mean, that's also part of her reasoning for why she kicked them out, so that she and the children couldn't be the sacrifices. But still, like... Yeah, I can be a bit more judgmental of Rosa's actions. I mean, Nazi. I mean, I'm definitely judgmental of Rosa, but not this current action. Not as much, anyway. But it's like, you're perfectly kicking out 5 people. Perfectly. 5. That's all she has left. And you're sending them all away. I mean, she's not kicking them out. Like, she's not saying they can't come back. She's just saying, put the fucking items away, our plates and whatnot from dinner. Whereas Nanjo, I don't know why she's also telling Nanjo to leave. I guess we'll figure that out eventually. But you're just serving them up to Beatrice on a platter at this point. This early in the game, goddamn. Dr. Nanjo closed the book he had been reading, rose from the sofa, and followed after the servants. Aunt Rosa stuck her head out into the hallway, and after seeing that they were completely out of sight, she closed the door and spoke.
みんな聞いて、これで今ここにいるのは後ろ宮の人間だけね。
Correct?
確かにそうなりますね。
狼を全部追い出したってこと、ローザおばさん。
With that one sentence, Aunt Rosa's gaze grew sharp. Apparently, she had picked up on the sarcasm. She laughed lightly.
バトラ君は頭の回転が速いのね。賢い子は好きよ。
His mind fucking does work very fast. Like, bruh, I want... Like, honestly, that's got me so hyped for the rest of this story. Just because I love these moments where Battler just flips this shit and just starts fucking tearing into other people's arguments. Like, now what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? I love it. I love it. The way he fucking tore up Beatrice's, theory with the chapel. The way he fucking went in on Rosa for suspecting Canon. That shit's awesome. I want so much more of it.
話が早いわ。
See, explained these nuts, ho.
おお、バトラー頭いい。
Ouch.
これ解ける？
Can you solve this? Who murdered Canon?
64ページの難しいの。
Page 64 is hard. It's a blank page, and she just wrote, Who murdered Canon?
おお。
マリアは少しの間テレビを見、ママはバトラ君たちとお話があるの。
おお。
ローザおばさん、パズルの話はバトラ君に用心深いのは悪いことじゃないと思うけど、さすがに疑り深すぎるのもどうかと思うよ。
真の犯人がベアトリーチェかどうかは別に、少なくとも使用人たちがその一味であることを疑うことはできると思うの。兄さんたちが殺されていた最初の殺人、とても残酷な仕打ちがされていたわよね。あれが一人でできる真似に見える。
謎の来客、ベアトリーチェ様が夜鍋をしてチクチクやったのかもしれねえぜ。
ジェシカちゃんの部屋の扉をめぐるマスターキーの件、使用人の誰かが関わっている証拠じゃない。
Is it? Only the master key could have unlocked the door to Jessica's room. So we can only suppose that one of the servants did it. No. Wait. Oh?
チェス盤をひっくり返すっておかしいよ。ローザおばさん。なんで犯人はジェシカを殺した後、わざわざ施錠すれば、マスターキーの持ち主が疑われるのは必然。わざわざ施錠する必要がないぜ。
そうだよ。バトラ君の言う通りだ。わざわざ疑われるようなことをする理由がない。
それは面白い考えよ。もちろん、私もそれは考えた。
Did you really though? No, you probably thought of it, but did you really consider it? I don't think so.
だとしたら、施錠した人物は使用人を疑わせたくて。でもそれは不可能でしょ?
That's right. If there existed some trick that could lock that door without a master key, that'd make this a great disguise for casting down on the servants. If the culprit's goal was for us to isolate ourselves from the group so they could attack us one by one, this trick would also be effective at giving rise to paranoia. But there is no way to lock that door without using a master key.
マスターキーを使わずに閉める方法がない。ルドルフ兄さんの言っていた悪魔の証明になるんじゃない？私たちには想像もつかない方法で閉められたのかもしれない。
Wow, that was a lot you just said for maybe it. Was locked by some method we can't think of. Did Beatrice say it could only be locked by Master Key, or could it only be unlocked by Master Key? And she would have said locked, right? Or that it can't be unlocked with a special device. She said something like that, right? Pretty sure.
私たちに思いつかないからといって未知のトリックがあることを否定することにはならない。
I mean, Badler can, because he's seen the red text.
そりゃそうだけどよ。
I
つまりあれ
guess.
か、疑わしきは黒ってわけなのか。
具体的なトリックはわからないけれど、それでも外角はわかるの。申し訳ないけど、カノン君を犯人だと仮定すると
We will not
非
make
常
that
に簡単
assumption.
に説明できる。死体がない理由までね。
だってカノン君はマスターキーを持ってなかったんですよ。他の使用人ならともかくカノン君にだけは施錠はできなかったはず。
なるほど。それでローザおばさんはジェシカの部屋に入って早々に、ローザおばさんこそ普段の様子から想像できるより頭の回転が速いな。
妹の頭の回転速度は常に姉マイナス1よ。
The fuck kind of statement is that?
今は誰にも気を使う必要がないからせいせいするわ。
George Aniki realized she was referring to Aunt Ava, and seemed a little uncertain about how he should take that sarcasm.
ごめん、僕にも分かるように説明してほしいな。カノン君のマスターキーはジェシカちゃんのポケットに入って密室に閉じ込められていた。施錠した後に部屋の外からポケットに入れるなんてゲートは不可能なはず。
違うんだよ。ローザおばさんの想像しているやり方なら、このトリックはカノン君に、そしてジェシカのポケットにマスターキーを入れたまま鍵なしで施錠することができる。そしてその結果として死体もなくなる。
どうやって鍵なしでどうやって施錠するんだい。
Locked
簡
from the
単に
inside.
ジョージ君だって帰宅したら施錠するでしょ。つまみをひねってカチリとね。
まさか。いやでもカノン君の姿はどこにも。
兄貴にもピンときたみてえだな。ローザおばさんが室内を探したのはそういうことだ。内側から鍵を閉め、ジェシカのポケットに鍵を突っ込んだカノン君がどこかに隠れて俺たちをやり過ごそうとしているのを探したんだ。
Similar to episode 1, right? The whole argument with Kinzo in his room. The people come in, they leave, and he exits a different way. Or he exits behind them. Like, they come in, examine the room, and then they leave. They don't lock the door behind them, so then he leaves out behind them. Or even if they did, he takes the master key out of Jessica's pocket after they've all left, and then he gets out himself. Like, obviously, I know that's not what happened, but an interesting argument. It was the simplest kind of closed room trick. It meant him hiding inside the closed room after the murder was committed. Then all he had to do was get out after those who discovered the body left, and the closed room murder would work perfectly.
私たちはあの部屋を探したけれど、でもだからといってあの部屋に使用人たちしか知らない秘密の隠し通路のようなものがないとは言えない。それがどこに隠されていたかはわからないけれど、その隠し通路を仮定し推理することで彼しかありえないと断言できるの。
That's a pretty massive assumption, though. Like, all of a sudden, like, oh,
その
Beatrice
推
is...
理はよ。
Like, all of a sudden, it's like, fucking... What was I saying? Not Beatrice, Jessica. Jessica's room has a fucking hidden passage for some reason. We're just gonna... That only servants can get to? Seems really fucking stupid. That's a very massive assumption, because that's just... That's not one where it's like, oh, it's a bit of a stretch. It's like, no, that's a pretty wild assumption, and then you're gonna draw the conclusion that it was only canon based on that wild assumption.
俺も一番最初に考えた一番嫌な推理だから、一番最初にその可能性を潰したかった。
カノンはこの部屋で殺された。そなたはカノンが犯人であると疑いそうになったため、真っ先にその可能性を潰すために。分かっておる分かっておる。
だからあの部屋にいたのは実は3人だったという説だ。
Oh,
ジェシカとカノン君は被害者、
yes.
そして犯人である来客ベアトリーチェも一緒にいた。
そなたは人間であるわらわがなるほど、そなたにぴったりの陳説であるぞ。
お前は2人を殺し内側から施錠した。そしてカノン君の死体を担いで普通の人は気づかない秘密の方法、つまり隠し扉を使って部屋から脱出したんだと読んだ。しかしあの部屋に隠し扉の類はないってな。
うん、お前たちの知らない秘密の通路は存在せぬぞ。ノックスだったかバンダインだったか、何でもミステリーには秘密の通路があってはいけないらしい。そのお作法にわらわも従ったということよ。つまり名探偵は部屋を調べ尽くさずして隠し通路がないと断言できるわけだ。人間の推理ごっことはなんとお気楽なものよの。
クソ、でけえこと言いやがるぜ。ありがとよ、魔女様のお取り計らいのおかげで俺も部屋を探し尽くさずにあの部屋に隠しと。
うん、この部屋に隠し扉はない。扉と窓以外に出入りする方法はない。
今ローザおばさんがぶってる自信満々の仮説は間違ってるってわけだ。しかも悔しいことにこの仮説は反証不能だ。
Right. You can't just be like, well, the witch told me.
魔女のお前は赤で隠し扉はないと断言すればそれで決着する。しかし人間の俺はローザおばさんにそれを反論しても受け入れられ、隠し扉がないことを人間は証明できない。悪魔の証明になっちまう。魔女ってのは便利だな。
そんなあるかないかもわからない隠し扉を理由にカノン君を
Yeah,
犯
let her
人
know,
呼ばわりするなん
George.
て僕は納得できないんだ。
Damn right.
納得できないならより納得できる推理を聞かせて。
Here's my theory. It's my middle finger. Fuck you.
ないのよ。私はずっと考えてる。これしかないのよ。
Battler.
ジョージ君はシャノンちゃんと仲が良かった。だから使用人全員が犯人であることは受け入れがたいと思うの。私もシャノンちゃんが犯人の一味であるなんて信じたくない。でも全員であるか否かはともかく確実にあの中に犯人も、それだけは見誤っちゃダメ。
カノン君以外にも狼がいると見てたんだな。ジェシカの部屋で犯人はカノン君だと大騒ぎしたの。使用人たち。
ええ、そうよ。そしてその結果私は一層の疑い
Honestly,
を
I
持つ
can't
ん
blame
だ。
her there. They were acting mad suspicious. Like, I get it, that is kind of like a typical human reaction where you're being accused of something like this to like panic, like, oh god, no, what, no. Whereas if you acted more cold and calculated, like, no, of course not, it wasn't me, why would you ever assume that? It's like that's almost a bit more suspicious, but I get what she was going for.
使用人の中に狼がいる。確実にね。そ
Certainly.
して狼と羊のパズルのように普段はおとなしくしているけれど、ジェシカちゃんは一人で船に乗った羊。あのパズルでは頭数の時は襲ってこないけど、私たちのパズルは違う。チャンスと人数次第なら頭数でも襲ってくる。ジェシカちゃんが殺されたように。
僕は怒りたいことがある。じゃあ厨房へ行かされてるシャノンは危険な状態じゃないか。今すぐ僕たちも厨房へ行くべき。誰が狼だろうと狼でなかろうと僕たち全員が揃っていれば均衡するならそれを保ち続けるべきだと思う。
シャノンちゃんはお父様のところへ源氏さんと一緒に行った。 その時に孤立したはずなのに殺されなかった。
What?
源氏さんも狼ではないから。違うわ、二人とも狼だったからよ。
シャノンは悪事の片棒を担ぐような人じゃない。いくらローザおばさんでもそれは聞き流せません。
Yeah, stand up for your queen, George. Love to see it.
今の発言に対し僕は取り消しを要求。
兄貴の前で悪いが、その論法エヴァおばさんの雰囲気にそっくりだな。こっちが反論できなきゃ自動的に自分が正しいみたいな。やっぱり血は争えないな、おばさん。
私だって今の自分はあまり褒められたものじゃないとは思ってる。でもね、私は母なの。
Yeah, no you're not. Only in the biological sense, bitch.
マリアの無事を守るためなら鬼にもなるわ。
You'd become a demon just to fucking scold your child, alright? You are just a demon. Plain and simple. You wouldn't become a demon to protect your child. You are a demon who fucking abuses the hell out of your child. You're garbage. Don't try to fucking, steal Nazis' thunder like that. I'd become the worst kind of demon to protect my daughter. It's like, when Nazi says it, it's like, ooh, that line hits. When you say it, it's like, ah, shut the fuck up.
本当ならマリアと二人きりでどこかに閉じこもっていたいくらいよ。でも私は同時にあなたたちの母でもあるつもりなの。
Mother these nuts, ho.
今やあなたたちは私の子供も同
I
然。
don't want to be practically your children. I've seen what you do to your children. I'd rather stay a nephew, thanks.
私は自分の子じゃないからといって
But what if
あ
I
なたたちを
forsake
見捨て
you?
たりしない。
What happens then?
絶対。
そりゃどうも。
私はあなたたちの母として油断しないでと警告したかっただけなの。常に私の目の届くところにいて
No.
私があなたたちを守ってあげる。
ついでに俺たちが狼でないことも監視してくれるってわけだ。そりゃありがたいぜ。そういうおばさんは自分が狼ではないって証明はできるのかよ。
ええ、できるわ。
Go on.
即答っすね。どうやって？
これよ、これが証拠よ。
Oh shit, I wasn't reading. God damn it. And Rosa lifted. I was kind of like, hey, Rosa lifted her gun and pointed the barrel at me, but it was only for an instant. She immediately lowered the gun, laughing impishly. But to me, the time I spent spraying down the barrel of that gun felt like an eternity.
その銃がどうローザおばさんが犯人でないことを証明するというんですか。
考えてもみて、私が犯人だったらどう？使用人たちが出ていったこの千載一遇の機会を逃すと思う？あなたたちをズドンと撃って、あとは適当な言い訳をするだけよ。
That's very
窓の
piss
外に
poor
ベア
line
ト
of
リッチ
logic.
が現れて銃を撃ってきたとかね。私は2発を撃ち返したと称して2発分の空薬莢を床に捨てればいい。
そりゃすげえ乱暴な理論だが確かに一理あるぜ。
クラウス兄さんが昔よく言ってたわ。力こそ正義ってね。これがまさにそうなのかしら。
Nope.
ごめんなさいね、二人とも。
Fuck you. Just pointed a goddamn gun at us. Some mother. Like, it's one thing to be like, if she would like pull out the gun and be like, this is my reason, alright? And just like showcasing the gun, and then we ask, okay, why the gun? But the fact that she like fucking loads the gun and like points at that battler, it's like, this is my reason, motherfucker. It's like, you are not fucking building any sort of trust between these people. You fucking moron.
私も今朝からの事件続きでかなり冷静さを失ってる。
Somewhat. Yeah, somewhat.
普段の私を知る二人から見れば、今の私は余裕がなくて少し短気そうに見えるかもしれない。
Well, see, that's the problem. As someone who has a peek behind the curtains that these, nephews of yours don't have, you always seem desperate and a bit short-tempered.
でも分かってる。私は悪意ある犯人からあなたたちを
I
守
want
り
to
たい。
protect myself from you.
そのためには鬼になる。
You already are a demon. How many times do you have to have this conversation, Rosa? Also, why are you repeating the line? That's not cool, alright? Nazi said it once and it kind of hits. You're like, oh, okay. Where you're just like, I'll become a demon. No, guys, for real, I will become a demon. Guys, come on, guys, listen to me. I will become a demon. And it's like, just like you're like that kid in middle school, like trying to sound cool, you know? Like, guys, listen, I totally do this shit. Like, listen, I did this thing last weekend. Like, listen, I do stuff, all right? I do all this crazy stuff, and it's like, shut up, just shut the fuck up. No one cares.
それだけのことなの。怒らせるようなことを言ってごめんなさいね。
Yeah, saying something that's angered us. That's what happened. You definitely didn't just point a loaded gun at one of your nephews and say, I could kill you, but I won't. Aren't I just the greatest? Go suck a cock.
バトラ君、ジョージ君、仲直りしましょう。
Let's not. Let's not. Let's Battler and George come together and tell you to go fuck yourself. And we'll go our separate ways. How about that? Yeah. An unsatisfied expression rose to George Oniki's face. He probably couldn't forgive the damage done to Shannon's honor. What about me? Several bits of circumstantial evidence hinted at the servants' participation. I didn't want to believe that one of them was the culprit, or possibly colluding with the culprit. But in our current situation, though, is a little more than wishful thinking. Whom should I believe? In the first place, who is the culprit? Are there accomplices? And if so, how many? It seems I've only been suspecting the people we know. I quickly forgot that 19th person. The guest, Beatrice, who arrived yesterday and boldly claimed to be the Golden Witch. In fact, I still haven't seen her face. I heard she greatly resembled the witch in that portrait. But since I haven't seen her directly, no matter how hard I try, it doesn't really feel to me like a 19th person is on this island. So I've been subconsciously hallucinating that the culprit's one of the 18. Damn it. Come out, Beatrice. If you're the bad guy, then act like the bad guy and show yourself laughing in a high-pitched voice and mocking us. Just like a bad guy in one of those dramas who, even when they're exposed as the culprit, aggressively says, "Where's your proof?" Yeah, of course, she's gonna come back.
証拠は終わりかの？
Thanks.
うっせえてめえはしばらくだ